Welcome to the wild world of the diagnostic laboratory industry, where we focus on science, compliance, sales, marketing, and self-mastery. Welcome to Lab Results with Blake. I'm your host, Blake Bork. Hello, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about something that's super important to every one of our businesses. We're going to talk about how hard it is to actually close somebody that you meet for the first time. One call, one close, the unicorn. It's something that we used to celebrate as sales reps. We'd always get a picture, man, that one call, one close. Whenever you walked into the actual doctor's office, they didn't know who you were. You were able to get in, ask them if they had a lunch in the books for the day. They said no. You'd say, hey, I can come back in an hour with food. Will you guys listen to our pitch? They say, yeah, great. We go get food real quick. We come back. We set them up. Wasn't on the books that day. We just got in there with persistence and a little bit of luck and some opportunity. We give them the pitch. They say, this is the best thing since nickel beer. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Yes, we want this. Everything went perfect. We walk out the door. We take a picture of ourselves holding that sample out the door because we literally had it, right? And so when you're on top of your game and the workflow matches the problem, and the problem is a problem that they've been looking for an answer, and they are literally inside of that, they want it. They're not asleep, right, anymore. They're not asleep to the problem. They were already awake. They very well may have been aware that the problem exists, and they could have been seeking an answer for it themselves, okay? So we just let everything lined up. It was perfect. It don't happen every day. That don't happen every day. In fact, it's very rare. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, if I never go back, 10 out of 10 times, if I never go back to that doctor's office, they're not going to send again. Because there's going to be a new staff. There's going to be people who are going to come in. There's all kinds of reasons why it's going to get in the way. The report didn't come back like they thought. They didn't see the value anymore. They were all built up on that one day. And, it just ends up just slipping out of our hands. So how do we manufacture that? When we talk about rainmakers, it's our ability to literally make rain. So that way, the seeds that we sow get water, get nutrients, right? They're in fertile soil. People who already recognize they have a problem. We've planted these seeds, whether they're seeds of doubt or they're actually seeds of life. We've planted these seeds that take root, but we're the rainmakers. And so we're making it rain. So that way these ideas grow, these seeds hatch. So that way we can come back and harvest. It's a great analogy for sales and marketing. Sales, well, that's the seeds. Marketing, that's the rain, right? The competence that comes from training the actual doctor's office or the providers who are using you, that's the harvest. Right. And so everything's got to work. You got to have enough sun, enough rain, enough moisture, not a hurricane. You can't have anything that comes that just like destroys the crop, right? For you to have a good harvest. We have too many laboratories, and I mean all of them, that are counting on seed alone. Too many laboratories that are only worried about their sales reps going out there planting seed. And they're not making it rain. They brought no irrigation in to make sure that those seeds actually sow, that they actually grow, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about sales and marketing right now. And we're going to talk and open up a conversation. Is it possible for you to predict the one call, one close? Is it possible for you to get a unicorn every week, every other day? I believe so. I believe it's possible. And I've done it. It's just crazy how many people are resistant to that path, because it requires them to actually commit to writing their thoughts and ideas down and to broadcasting their message and not hide, right? They have to actually expose themselves in their laboratory. And for whatever reason, there's a lot of people who would rather keep their lab a secret and not go on the radar, as they say, because Medicare is going to shut them down. If we go on the radar, our competition is going to complain about us. If we go on the radar, people are going to know about us, and you can't hide from that anymore. All right. So you can decide to hide from the radar or become the radar, right? You can hide from the standard or you can become the standard. And so let's talk about sales and marketing. All right. Marketing, its purpose is so that way you can actually take your message and you can reach a broader audience. It's so that way you can reach potential customers like in mass, right? Mass marketing, mass communication. Most of my hours in college, mass communications. I learned it when there were newspapers, there were no podcasts. I learned it before Facebook, before Google, before the iPhone. Most of what I learned in college can be summed up in ancient history, right? It's like I took a survey course in what marketing was like in the 60s and 70s. It took a lot of money and mistakes for me to talk to you about what I'm talking to you about today. The marketing is out there so that way you can have people who hear your message say, I want more. It's that communicated message, that capture permission piece that I talk about so much. I send my message out there and then they hear the message and they say, I want more. And they get on your list. And as you're assimilating them, you're communicating to them about more of your message, and you're talking about the problem, and you're talking about the problem, and you're talking about the pain that the problem caused, and you're expanding the problem, and you're creating a pain web with the problem to the point where they're like, man, you know what? My life would be so much better, possibly so much better if this problem didn't exist. I think I'm going to go ahead and schedule a meeting with this lab. They understand the problem. They must have an answer for it. And that's really what your marketing message is doing. It's setting up sales, which let's talk about the focus of sales. Sales typically is a one-on-one interaction. It's a deal. It's a moment in time where people open up and they say, we're going to make a decision. And sales is there to actually enable that decision. Sales also has to train, right? We have to convince people that this behavior that they're taking on is worth it, that the juice is worth the squeeze. So sales has a very key role in it. But sales is not marketing, and marketing is not sales. They are two independent functions that can be a force multiplier, like a scope on a rifle, right? Rifle can shoot a whole lot further than the eye can see. You put a scope on it, now you can hit a target far away. Best rifle in the world is kind of worthless at 300 yards if you don't have a scope on it, because you just kind of just randomly out there shooting at things, right? It becomes dangerous. That's sales without marketing. Your business is in danger if all you have are sales reps and there is no marketing. Why? Because it's very expensive. And the cost isn't only in the amount of money that you're paying the salesperson for them to be highly inefficient. The cost is how much they're not closing, how much business they're not getting. Calculate that cost. I got a sales team out there that nobody knows. Nobody's ever heard of your laboratory. All right. I want you to just poll random people in your town and ask them if they heard of your laboratory. 98 out of 100 are going to say no. One of them is going to be your mama because you don't talk about it at the house. Right. So you being able to go out there and till the ground for the salesperson and put some marketing out there. Get smart with this. Every other industry does this. Lab doesn't for some reason. Set some geofencing up. Market the actual message. Go out there. It's not just social media organic posting. A really good social media lab in my life. The executive team, though, doesn't believe in actually marketing the message, and so their sales are going to continue to fall flat, right? Until you buy into the fact that sales complement marketing and marketing complements sales, and those two things together are a force multiplier, you're never going to be as good as you could have been. You're robbing from your future lab business because there are clients out there. I guarantee you there are clients out there who want your lab services. But if your salespeople are on a route and all they can do is talk to 8 or 10 people a day, and none of them have given you any indication that they care about you or want you to stop by, how is that like? Imagine if your Facebook impressions or if your digital marketing was, we got to 7 people today. Well, how much did you spend on that? Well, our salesperson makes about $100,000 a year. So that's about $8,000 a month. There's 22 working days a month. So they probably make about, $400 a day. Of course, they don't really work all the time. You know what I mean? We don't even think they work like 30% of the time. So we're probably really paying them about $1,200 a day in opportunity cost when we level set their hours that they're actually working. And how many people did they reach today? 8 people who didn't care about them. Okay, cool. So how much did each one of those leads cost you? Oh, about $150. There's no way you'd pay $150 for an impression, right? The real sales cannot be compared. Whenever we talk about marketing a message, real sales cannot be compared to mass marketing. They're two completely different things. And when we go to market with one solution, cold call, cold call, cold call, word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth. You show me a Fortune 500 company that made it cold calling, word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth, whose owners didn't end up in jail because they were fraudulently and predatorily selling their products to the market. Like, you have to get out there and market your message. If you're not marketing your message, you're doing a disservice to your salespeople, and that's just to get the business. Once you close the business, guess what you got to do? You got to market to them. Why? Because they forget, man. The flesh forgets. They forget why they said yes to you in the first place. They forget why that problem was so hairy and scary. They forget that this is going to be better for patient care. They forget that they hated their former laboratory. Anytime they have to do something that's going to challenge their comfort, they're going to want to go back to who they were before. So you got to market a message to remind them why they said yes to you in the first place, why this is a good thing. You educate, you inculcate, you entertain. Like, you got to be able to capture their attention, man. When you're capturing permission, you're capturing their attention. You have the ability to be able to colonize their mind with better ways to be able to increase patient care. Your message needs to infect their heart and their soul. If it doesn't, don't hold your sales team accountable when they have flat results, because you, as a lab owner, you're failing them. You are failing them, and you're wasting your money, and you're wasting their purpose, and you're wasting their opportunities. They'd be better off working for somebody else if you don't believe in putting a message behind your laboratory. If you're not willing to put ad spin behind your website needs to be improved. If you're not willing to put ad spin behind your ad copy, or you don't have ad copy, if you don't want to talk about your laboratory in email, if you don't want to build an email list, you have to start questioning why. Why am I resistant to these fundamentals? Maybe it's because you're hiding from the actual work. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. So you have to figure out, like, if I'm not proud of my message, if I'm not willing to do these things that work in every other business, there's a CEO in my life right now. He has 4 other amazing businesses. This guy's a genius. He really is. I don't tell him that enough. And in every one of his other businesses, they practice digital marketing. They do. I get their text message reminders. I get their email marketing. Every time I get close to their business, I get an ad like they're doing it. He doesn't do it in lab. Can't convince them otherwise. That worldview is locked in. So, okay, so if you're doing it someplace else that you're not doing it here, it's a pride thing, man. They're not proud of how they're getting their business. They're not proud of how they're treating their people. They don't want to be exposed. So clean up the house. Make things orderly. So that way you feel good about marketing your message. Market your offer. I'm telling you, man, it's the thing that separates you from being average and struggling to making it rain. If you can control your leads, if you can know, I'm going to get 8 new leads today for Robbie. If you can know Robbie's going to talk to 8 of those people today, and 3 of them are going to say, come by and talk to me in person. And 2 of those 3 are going to say yes. And that's one day's work. Could you imagine what your laboratory would be like if you can go from cold calling and getting happy that we get 2 new accounts, 2 real accounts started a month that are going to send 4 to 5 samples a day? Your salesperson's growing their book of business by 200 samples, 150 to 200 samples a month. You'd be over the moon. I mean, people in the lab business are doing that math and you realize it's real. I get one guy who's sending me 5 samples a day, 22 working days a month. That's 100 samples. You got a salesperson that's growing their book of business by 100 samples a month, and they start off with no book, and at the end of the year, they have 1,200 real samples month over month that's coming in. You're not firing that person, especially if it's adjudicating at a rate of 80, 85%, and the payers are paying you, and you've done a good job with your credentialing. You're celebrating that. I don't know anybody who would say, I'm going to fire a salesperson if they only get to 1,000 samples this year. No, that is a highly profitable book of business. And that's just one qualified account a month. And yet we have salespeople out there who can't do it. And why can't they do it? Because nobody trusts a laboratory. Why don't they trust a laboratory? Because they can't find them online. Because your marketing looks like it was written by a 7th grader. Because you done chat GPT'd your whole freaking site and it looks cookie cutter and it doesn't talk about the problem. And you're not posting on social media because you're not proud of it. Either something in your past or the way you're doing what you're doing right now. So I'm calling you out. If you're not marketing your laboratory, what is the reason? If the reason is you're not proud about it, fix it. Fix it. Your salespeople and your patient care, you owe it to them. You owe it to your salespeople to stand behind them and market a message that makes it easier for them to grow the seeds they're planting in the marketplace. Marketing is crucial, not only for them to talk to more people who care about the message, but marketing is crucial to be able to reinforce the message and create competency. Marketing is going to be your training. Marketing is going to be your business development. Marketing is going to be your re-education. Marketing is going to be your surveys and user feedback and what tests once you establish these channels of communication and people trust you, they get to know you, those connections, all of a sudden, you can say, hey, who else do you know who has your problem that we can solve? And you'll be very surprised and delighted when they respond to you and they actually give you names. Because people want to spread that. People want to share. You have an opportunity to go viral if you do this the right way, right? So where in your life right now, this is kind of a little bit more fiery than I thought it was going to be today, ladies and gentlemen, but in my life, the last 3 days, I haven't actually done the podcast, and some rebuilding and some cleanup that I'm doing myself. So I kind of got in here and wanted to drop 3 days of fire all in one message. So if you felt like you got preached to or screamed at, I'm not apologizing for it. It was intentional. I'm trying to wake you up. Market your lab. The patients' lives depend on it. You guys be great. Greatness, this is one thing for certain, is contagious. You've been listening to Lab Results with Blake, with your host, Blake Bork. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Remember, greatness is contagious.